Okay, so this video is for two people. It's for a good friend of mine, Sean, and an old friend of mine, Tony. Tony, I haven't seen in about 20 years, and I know him back from the financial industry. So he doesn't know me as much on this spiritual, mystical, this journey I've been on. He knows me, like I said, in the financial industry capacity where we work together. Sean, I've only known for 2 years, but we've talked more on the mystical, spiritual. Sean took theology for 7 years, so has a very strong background, Old Testament stuff, and also the occult. So yeah, so that's some very different backgrounds. But I'm basically talking to both you guys here at the same time. Um, what I want to talk about, basically, it's the singularity, it's oneness. Whether you call it a Messiah, a Christ, Neo, an Avatar. Um, so Tony, I have more to explain to you because Sean's heard some of these points before. So a theory of oneness. Okay, so imagine that there's you, and I'll bring my hand in here, and you come up with a theory of oneness. Okay, so a theory of oneness would unite the whole universe, all time, space, all our laws of physics. Um, Everything collapsed down to a single point. If there was you and your theory and they existed separately, that's not a theory of oneness. It's a theory of two-ness. This is basic math. The only way to come up with a theory of oneness is to unify yourself also, and that's to become the theory of oneness. So that specifically would be Neo from the Matrix or Christ. Now, Tony, my friend Sean hates when I use theatrical versions like the Jedi or Master of the Mystical Arts. He's very much locked into the um, Christian, Judeo-Christian, even Islamic, because it's all connected. But like that Old Testament, I joke around with him. You're expecting Jesus to speak Aramaic when he shows up. Um, he has a hard time seeing the story from 2,000 years ago filtered through today. And that's kind of what I'll talk about a little bit more after. But the idea of people believing Jesus is going to come in the clouds. There are a lot of people that believe he's actually going to come floating in on the clouds, which is fine. And it could be true. But I say to them, do you know the internet? And obviously they're like, yeah. And I said, where do we store all our data? And they're like, in the clouds. So imagine Christ comes, goes viral, the whole world sees him. How else will the whole world see him all at once, if not from the internet? So he would come in the clouds and everyone would see him. So there's, imagine this story from 2,000 years ago filtered through today. And that's basically almost what's missing. So anyway, back to the theory of oneness. So the main point, sorry, I got to turn off this heater really quick. All right, sorry about that. And I don't know if that works. It's still going. Um, so anyway, so the theory of oneness, it's only going to be one person. If one person unifies himself with the whole universe, not that there hasn't been prophets and gurus and people that have been connected, it's all part of the one story, but there's a singularity at the end. So instead of imagining us moving through time, imagine at this point it's all coming down and collapsing to one point. That's what this picture is here. So way over there is what they would call the Big Bang or creation, depends what you believe in. But imagine it's the Big Bang. So boom, it explodes and the whole universe is created 13.8 billion years, and then here we are today. And you have all your religions, okay? So you have your Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Sufism, Buddhism, Hinduism, Taoism, Baha'i faith, Zoroastrianism, Confucianism, Kabbalism, Shamanism, Wicca, native indigenous stuff. So those are all the belief systems. But you also have science, quantum physics, and there's math and philosophy and psychology, and even the secret societies and what's encoded in there, mysticism and all that stuff. It's all an expression of this one thing. So whether you say the Big Bang or God, but imagine it's all an expression of that oneness. Now, as the universe expands out to this point, if it collapses down to a point, we're all going to die because we'll be all compressed and it'll collapse. It's not physically collapsing. And that's the apocalypse and the revelations of the end of the world and stuff like that. Apocalypse means to reveal. Revelations means to reveal. So it'll be a person coming and revealing the truth or the story or the fulfillment of the prophecy, which is also entanglement, quantum entanglement and prophecy. Albert Einstein called it spooky action at a distance. So that'll all tie in. Okay, so it's only going to be one person, because once that person unifies, it's like, imagine right now, Tony, as hard as it is to believe, but you're Catholic. I know you believe this. For one person, you just don't know who it would be. And it would be hard for you to believe any one of us being that person, but you believe it. Imagine right now, God comes into one person right now. It's God, the highest infinite divine intelligence. In that moment, all answers would be here for the world. Now, it might take you time to hear it, and it might take time for you to get to you, but it would all be present. It's called, well, it's the word of God, basically. So it's magical. Tony, the holy books, the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, the Old Testament, and the Hindu one, the Bhagavad Gita. One of the guys you translated, he's the Krishna consciousness, Hare Krishna guy, Swami Prabhupada. What he said is, because these are holy books, they're basically magical books, sacred. What was happening 5,000 years ago or 2,000 years ago could be happening today. So imagine some of these stories, even though they were written and are coming from thousands of years ago, imagine, because they're divine, imagine you're here today. So imagine Krishna and Buddha and Christ are all present today, and they splice time, echo through eternity, and then a story sent back in time, and the prophecy is built forward. So there's a lot happening, and I want you to not think about time anymore. Think about it all collapsing down to a single point. Okay, so I'm kind of jumping around a lot, but there's a lot to talk about. But imagine this coming forward. If it's a material universe, if it's the Big Bang type of thing, then it collapsing down to a single point means we all die. I want you to imagine that it's a conscious universe. Okay, so instead of it being physical, like the Big Bang, and then the planets, stars and planets, and then life, and we're here with thoughts, emotions, feelings, and it's not just thought, because we're the thinker, but you're also the witness. You're also aware of your thoughts. Okay, so you're the thinker and the thought, but you're also the witness. And think of that being more the silence and the stillness as opposed to the active thinker. Okay, so it being a conscious universe. How I want you to think of this is that, I mean, first of all, how do our thoughts and intelligence, not that we are intelligence, but the potential for intelligence, the questioning, the ability to be aware, I mean, how does that come out of like an explosion in hydrogen and elements and rocks and heat to come to this? I believe there had to be an intelligence in the beginning, whether you're religious and believe in God, but I believe there was an intelligence coded into the universe. So anyway, Tony, what I want you to imagine is a dream. Okay, so I'll do myself, like imagine myself really quick. So if I'm sleeping right now, okay, so if I'm in bed sleeping right now, and this is my dream, okay, whether it's me or you, the second our dream starts, we've created a whole universe. Okay, I can look outside, I can look up in the sky, whether it's day or night. If it's night, I can take a telescope in my dream, look at the stars, cut myself, bleed, see stitches, go to the hospital. I can see a baby being born. I can see life. I'm sitting in a chair. There's a wall. I've created solid matter. Okay, because in my dream, if you're in my dream, there could be a million people in my dream. I've created life. You guys are acting independently from me, the character. Because if I'm sleeping right now, this isn't Mark talking. I would be the character within the dream. So I've created all of you, and you're acting independently. So I've created free will. So think about it, Tony. The second my dream starts, I've created a whole universe. It didn't take 13.8 billion years. I've created time, space, a whole dimension of time, space, life, free will, solid matter. And then this dimension of time exists separately from me being sleeping in, well, what you call reality. So what I want you to imagine is, imagine this is God's dream. Okay? And if this is God's dream, in the same way, if it's my dream, you guys are all me. Or if it's your dream, it's your consciousness. If it's your dream, Tony, everything here would be your consciousness. The air, the space, the walls, me, all this stuff would all be your consciousness. There wouldn't exist anything else, like not a black hole, or like there can't be a rock from outside reality in your dream. I'm not in your dream. There's nothing that would exist here except your consciousness. So if this is God's dream, we're all him. And I'm going to go into that now. And I'm starting basically just to kind of streamline what I'm going to talk about and explain a little bit more. But just so you have an idea how consciousness, like a dream or God's image or essence, can produce a whole universe, and solid matter. And the idea that it took 13.8 billion years, that's that picture up there. This is quantum physics. I know you're not too familiar with it maybe, but what they talk about is if there's an observer, if there's somebody there watching, recording, judging, or quantifying. Remember Jesus said 2,000 years ago, cast the first stone, the person that's judging. The quantum physicist is saying cast the first particle, because once you measure or judge or quantify it, it collapses down to this dimension of time, space, and again, I'm going to go into that soon too, is duality. So I'm going to start moving forward now and explaining stuff. So here we go, Tony. Me and Sean, me and Tony got into it on the internet a little bit, but he was going more politics, and I'm talking about mystical, magical, kind of revelation stuff where something big is going to happen, and he believes in it, and so do you, but it's just the timing and the explanation. So one thing I realized, Tony, is that, and Sean, this is important, is that I'm talking to people and they think it's a conversation. And it's not to dismiss anyone, because I'm not trying to talk over them. But imagine if it's a game, okay? And that's not to diminish the pain and suffering and the war and everything going on right now. But just to imagine it this way, is imagine it's a game, and whether it's Monopoly, chess, checkers, is that you would have your turn and then someone else would have their turn. And all I'm saying is imagine it's my turn. And imagine this is my turn, and my turn in one move, I would be pushing my whole thesis on the table. So my move is very intricate and detailed, but it would be all done. So that's where my roommate was questioning that about the conversation back and forth and wanting to talk about it. And I'm like, you almost have to hear the story first. Because what I'm basically presenting is all these truths entangled into one, but they're presented in one story. I've been talking a lot, but I'm trying to thread the needle, and I'm getting close to it, and that's hopefully what we're here for. So the top, to me, left corner up there, is that whiteboard. So Tony, you're religious. In the beginning was God. All God, only God. There's nothing else but God. I say to people, especially religious people, what did he make everything out of? And they're like, oh, it's God. He can make it out of anything. But there is no anything. There's no anything and there's no nothing. There's only God. There's only this one energy. Okay? So if I say to you, and you've Italian, so you know somewhere, construction and stuff like that. If I ask you to build a house and all I give you is bricks, what are you building the house out of? Bricks. If I ask you to build a house and all I give you is wood, what are you building the wood out of? What are you building the house out of? Sorry. You're building it out of wood. So if in the beginning all I give you is God, and I ask you to build a whole universe, what are you building it out of? And it's God. That's all there is. That's the only energy of the air. So all of this here, and you could call it the will of God, but it's basically everything here, including you physically. Any substance or material is God. Now, the interesting part is you also have free will, and that's the choice to act independently, because you can love someone or you can hurt somebody, the free will, you can do something silly, whatever. So that also takes energy. So the same way it takes energy for me to pick up a glass and drink, it also takes energy for me to think. I'd be making a joke to Sean right now saying, his thoughts probably don't take that much energy, but they still, thank God I'm not here. You can be brave over the internet. So, but they still take energy, and you're acting independently. It's like if you're in my dream and you're the bad guy, you're chasing me with an axe. In my dream, you're acting independently, even though the sleeping person has created this whole dream. And that's interesting, Tony, because a lot of people struggle with the Trinity. But imagine the dream. The person, me at home sleeping, would be the Father. The character in the dream would be the Son, and the whole dream being that one consciousness would be the dream of the Holy Spirit. So imagine this is God's dream. Father, the character that wakes up, would be the Son, the Messiah, and then the whole dream, all this energy would be his consciousness, and of course it's holy, so it would be the Holy Spirit. And that's why it's Father, Son, the Trinity. Your dream is still you, even though it's a dream and it's separate from you. And the character in the dream, like, it's obviously not the real you or the physical one that you know, but it's still you, because it's your essence or your emanation or your creation, your projection, your dream. So that's where the three in one kind of, you can see them synthesizing. So it's not necessarily that this is God's dream, but it's the best explanation. And I think it might even be possible. There's certain quotes, as above, so below, as within, so without. It's all entangled. If you just take the story even comically, God created the world in 6 days, the seventh day he rested. What do you do when you rest? You sleep. So imagine he's sleeping right now. Imagine this is his dream. If he was to wake up right now, it's a nightmare. And imagine it ends. Imagine if God wanted to know if he could wake up. So imagine he almost fully surrenders himself to this creation. I'm not saying God's dead, but imagine he's fully surrendered himself, and he's basically put himself right into this. So in the beginning, his energy creates all of this because there's no other energy to make all of this. But then he also surrenders it, and that idea that energy scientifically can't be created or destroyed. So if in the beginning, if this is the only energy in the universe, say, sorry, this piece of paper here, and if there's no other energy, for you to have free will, he would have to literally, I'm ripping a piece off, give it to you, because you're now independent. You can kill somebody, you could hurt somebody, you could love somebody. And imagine he kept giving that to everyone and kept ripping off pieces. And imagine there's no more God, as in the father aspect, the center, the source aspect. Imagine part of his energy has made all of this dimension of time. And then so much of it was surrendered to our choice, even though we're destroying it in ourselves. But so much of it was surrendered to us that imagine he doesn't exist anymore. Although all this is God. It's a riddle. It's almost like the paradox of the duality, because how do you have one and the other, right? Father, Son, Alpha, Omega, beginning and end. So you have, and I'll just show this quickly. So imagine this here. This is Ein Sof, which is nothingness without end. It's another name for God. So that would be heaven. This would be earth. That's God, and this is his essence. That's transcendence. This is immanence. Upper world, lower world. Imagine this, Tony, is all the things, and you know a bit of math, all the things that are eternal, infinite, and timeless. Those things can't be counted. They can't be quantified. That's why this is oneness. Because if you have two-ness, then you can start counting and quantifying. You have left and right, up and down, me and you, black and white here and there. So oneness and God can only be expressed through oneness because he's eternal, infinite, and timeless. And then you have duality. Well, now, whether this is heaven and earth, I'll go through the duality aspect of it, the mathematical aspect of it, Tony, just so you know. You're basically born and you move through time and you die. That's the only time you touch oneness. So imagine this circle here is oneness. So you have -1, +1, the root of +1, and the root of -1. But you can't root a negative number. So this, again, it's almost, you can't root this. So it's almost, it doesn't exist. It's false. It's the illusion. It's Maya, the matrix, the simulation. Whatever way you want to explain it. This is just explaining the duality. So imagine there's God or oneness, this purity, this infinite eternal energy, and then it has a dream or creates this lower world, and then we have choice and free will. It's why the word evil, when you flip it, spells live. When you take the word lived and you flip it, it spells devil. Hence, it's through the filter of time. So I just wanted you to see this, the explanation. But going back to it, that's God in the top corner creating it, and I'll go through the creation in a second. But these are all the different ways to explain it, Tony. So you have heaven and earth, or heaven and hell, okay? You have a mirror and the reflection, and that one I'm going to talk about more, and that's literally why I have the mirror behind me, because it's going to be a one I talk about in a bit more detail. That's the Ein Sof one I just showed, or heaven and earth. That's the math one I just showed, how the negative, you can't root the negative. The root of -1, because 2 negative equals a positive. It's called I, the impossible number. And again, I'll go into that a bit more. You have the yin yang, the black and the white, or the light and the dark, but it's still one energy. In quantum physics, you have the particle and the wave. So when you're judging or measuring or quantifying, it's a density, it's this material universe, time and space, it's the lower world. When you're not, so imagine Buddha being in silence and he's not quantifying that stillness. God says, be still and know that I am. Another quote is, to the mind that is still, the whole universe surrenders. Okay? So if that stillness, now it's a wave. So imagine Tony or Sean or Mark is the ego, but if you go so deep that you surrender yourself or go so deep to that stillness or awakening, it becomes a wave and it transcends time and space. And now whether it's a prophet, a guru, or I'm talking Messiah, the singular energy. All right? So, okay, so you have all those. I'm up to the yin yang, the duality, particle, wave. Adam and Eve. You have the Garden of Eden in here. when they eat the apple, they become conscious of themselves. It's almost a reverse. Instead of becoming enlightened, they're in the kingdom and they fall from the garden. So, but it was when they became conscious of themselves and they became conscious of the separation, the duality. They began to quantify and measure good and evil, light and dark, so on. And the cave simile, Plato's cave simile, where they're in the cave, all they know is the shadows. No one's ever seen the light. One person comes out, sees the light, sees the shadows, the sun hitting a tree, casting a shadow. They realize how insignificant the shadows are. Just like this world is in darkness, it's just the shadows. We're missing the reality of it. So this person comes out, sees the light, and then has to go back into the cave and explain the light to all these people in darkness. They're going to think he's crazy, he lost his mind. They're going to make fun of him, lock him up. If he makes sense, they'll probably kill him because he'll threaten, power. The last one is the Pink Floyd symbol with the prism. So basically, instead of seeing time linear, past, present, and future, see it like a triangle. So you have, you're looking the opposite way. So this side would be past, that would be present, and that's future. So imagine it's a triangle in the middle. You have the true moment, the eternal now. Excuse me. So here's the now. Imagine this is God. It takes you time, Tony, to hear that. It takes you time to see it. And then it takes you time to react emotionally, intellectually. So here's the eternal now, or God, and there's you in your dimension of time with your ego and yourself. If you were in stillness, you would be here. But because you're the reaction to it, it's like the mirror. So by the time you look in a mirror and the reflection comes back, imagine you missed the moment or the truth. So that's basically what's happening in the world right now, is we're all looking through the filter of time, or looking almost and seeing the world in the mirror, in a reflection. So if you look just in a mirror, okay, I'm lifting right now, that's my left arm, sorry. See how confusing it is? When you have to think about what you're seeing in the reflection, it's like a pause. And in that pause, it's almost like if you had a life decision, you'd miss it in that moment. So I'm lifting my left arm. But now in the mirror, technically, that should be my right arm if you're looking at it in the mirror, because that's what I write with. So it's the opposite. It's the reflection. So now, people talk about duality, the illusion. So Hindus call it Maya. The simulation matrix people say it's the matrix, it's a simulation. Whether it's the filter of time, heaven and earth, the cave simile, however you want to look at it, imagine this is an illusion. Imagine this isn't real. Imagine this is God's dream. Tony, an all-knowing, loving God wouldn't create evil. He wouldn't allow this to happen. But if you're sleeping right now, Tony, and you have a dream, and in your dream you kill like 100 people, you don't wake up in the morning and go to the police station and surrender yourself, and you don't go to jail because it's a dream. It's not real. So we consider this reality, but imagine it's not. Imagine it's God's dream. And if we can create the universe and do all that in our dream, imagine the mind of God, or the energy of the universe, the intelligence, what it can create. So imagine this is a very infinite, eternal, complex dream, and we're part of it. But it's a nightmare. Look what we're doing. And one of us has to wake up and then tell that one prophetic story that resets the whole world. It's like an hourglass turning over. I don't have the diagram, but okay, so that's that oneness. That's that singularity. That's what we're moving towards, okay? So as this universe is created to here, imagine someone takes it within their mind and creates a singularity, it down consciously, and then entangles themselves with God, with the universe, Father, Son, Alpha, Omega, beginning and the end. They would have the one story to magically reset the world. And Tony, that's how simple it would be. And it's almost, my friend Sean, who knows so much about theology, it's like, if it is this simple, if I'm right, I'm not dismissing what he believes or thinks, but if I'm that right, it's that simple. Imagine whether it's me or you or whoever, imagine it's just a story. And because that person knows who they are, and who they are is the one, or Christ, Father and the Son. And Tony, there's a quote, it's in Hebrew, and he should know this, Sean, Hebrew 1:8. So the Father says unto the Son, so God talking to Christ, whoever the Messiah is, or Jesus, whatever. And he doesn't say Jesus or Son, he says, oh God. So it's like God calling Jesus God. So that's the whole Father and Son are one. So the Father says unto the Son, the Father saith unto the Son, oh God, your throne is forever and ever, your kingdom, or whatever, scepter, your spear of justice. But he calls him God. Imagine I talk and I'm Mark, you're Tony. A prophet might talk to an angel or hear the word and then repeat it and share it. But Tony, imagine if you're not hearing God, not talking to him, but imagine what's in your mind and what comes out of your mouth is from now for the rest of your life, the next 40, 50 years. Imagine it's all the word of God. So imagine Tony doesn't speak for the next 50 years and it's just all God, God. And it's not you translating it. It's not you hearing it and repeating it. It's literally just flowing through you. And you've completely surrendered or dissolved your mind or yourself. And that's all it is. Like, really, who are you? Like, you're not Tony for the next 40, 50 years. You literally would be God without being arrogantly saying that, because it's not a possessive thing. You would have basically had to completely surrender yourself, which is dying within. You hang yourself on your own cross. It doesn't have to be literally the crucifixion. That's a metaphoric, and Sean understands the occult of this. So, all right, now I can kind of move a little bit. So the top corner, it's all God, only God. There's nothing else but God. So he can't make anything else out of anything but his essence, whether it's materially or whether it's his consciousness or whether it's, whatever it is. So makes all the planets, the stars, everything, the whole universe is created. And then there's me and you, and that's those two dots. So me and you are being born, and now we have free will. So we're still connected to everything, but we can act independently because I can basically hurt somebody now, which is the main thing, is you can do evil. Okay, so the next one is the arrows, and now we're moving through time. And now it's like you can see a little bit more of the separation because we're starting to like exist within time, our ego, our choice, we're quantifying, and we're moving through time. You can see there's the multiple dimensions. So it's here's the eternal now, there's you, and it's almost like a game where God has the move, because at any second he could take your life, right? It could end. So it's just basically this repetitive, you existing within a time, within this reaction. You're just outside the moment. You're seeing the world through this illusion. And imagine that, the whole world, imagine the majority, how many of us are good. And imagine we're all trying to make the right choice, and we are for ourselves. But because we're making it through the mirror, through the reflection, we're making it through the opposite. So imagine all of you right now, the whole world, all 8 billion of you, Sean, Tony, everyone, you're all seeing the whole world. I think even when you look at something, it's upside down, your eyes inverted or whatever. So imagine you're seeing the whole world opposite, upside down, through a reflection. So, and through like the filtered delay of time. So imagine every choice you make is right and good and wholesome as it is. Imagine it's like you're screwing up every single time. Sometimes you get it right by luck, but imagine you're always outside the true now. So it would have to be synchronized. And imagine somebody does that, and he aligns the whole universe in that one moment. Okay. So now you're moving through time, and then you kind of lose your relationship with the infinite, the eternal, and you basically just have the line, and now you're just existing through this dimension of time. And this is where the singularity has to come in, okay? The idea of the dream. So Tony, I'll go through this fast. A long time ago, my buddy said if you can see your hands in your dream, you can wake up in your dream. We couldn't do this for months, but 6 months later, it just happened, and I saw my hands in my dream. I wanted to win the Stanley Cup. I play hockey. We do hockey pools. Anyway, I didn't have time to do that because I didn't know what time it was outside my dream. I didn't know if it was 4 a.m. or 7:29 and my alarm was about to go off. But that's also how I knew I was awake within my dream, because I was questioning the time outside my dream. So I just picked something really quick to happen, and I made it happen. Woke up. The interesting part is that our dreams are all energy, and we're all energy, and this whole universe is energy, and potentially probably the same energy. If I can wake up in my dream, my question was, why couldn't I or one of us wake up in this world? And that's almost what it is. So instead of it being a material universe from the Big Bang, if it's a conscious universe, then one of us can wake up consciously. And then one of us would be able to entangle ourselves, and the prophecy and the whole universe would align to that one single person. So it's huge, and it's almost so extreme. It's almost so difficult to believe. But this is basically what I'm talking about. Binary code is another way to explain it. This is all the duality, so the zeros and ones. So imagine that basically God is the zero, and then we're all ones. I, 1. When you die, you go back to zero. But if you go so deep within that you dissolve the self and die within, you almost become a zero, and that comes into you while you're still alive. And that's where the potential to heal the world and awaken it. And instead of dying and going to heaven, it's invoking the kingdom of heaven and heaven on earth and bringing that dimension. Because they always said, Tony, remember as a kid, the kingdom of heaven was within. The universe is within. So imagine you go so deep within that you find it and you can actually bring that out. So that's who it is, and it could be any one of us. So Tony, in theory, I can explain how it's you, Sean, any one of us. Sean's actually gone deep into it, and the darkness didn't scare him. The light actually scared him, so he pulled back a bit. But pick any path, Tony. Okay, so this project is called the surrender equation. So the reason it's surrender is because all religion is about surrender. Everything's about surrender. Okay, even though it sounds like a weak word, like to surrender to somebody. Buddhists, when they're meditating, they're basically surrendering themselves through meditation. Hindu yoga, when they're doing yoga postures and stuff like that, they're surrendering themselves through pranayama, breath, through the posture, surrendering themselves, dissolving the self, awakening the self, higher self. Jesus on the cross is surrender. Islam, Muslims, Islam means to submit or to surrender. And it's not to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. It's not to Christ. It's only to God, to Allah. So complete submission or surrender. So all religion is about letting go. It's about surrendering. Quantum physics, remember, when you're judging or measuring it, it's the density. When you're not, silence, stillness, when you surrender it, it's the wave. And that's the magical heaven, multiverse kind of part. So whether it's heaven and earth or the multiverse in our universe, that's the eternal, infinite, timeless energy. And this is the dimension of time. Everything's two, me and you, left and right, up and down, black and white. It's all duality. Okay. So that's basically the gist of it. Now, if you took up a practice, it could be, again, Tai Chi. This is the part that Sean hates. If Yoda walked in right now and said he's training a Jedi, Doctor Strange, master of the mystical arts, this is all mysticism. This is the mystery of the universe. If you were to solve the mystery, it would all center on you and you would tell the story and realign everything. It's that simple, but nobody's ready to hear the simplicity of that. Just grabbing a water quick. Okay, so if you happen to be the one to align all of this and tell this whole story and create that singularity, that's what I would go into. I don't think I'm going to go into it all now. There's little simple points like born of a virgin, not born of a virgin, obviously I have an older sister, but this is the world story. So I'm Virgo, August 27th. So it's the constellation of the Virgin. My initials MP match the Virgo symbol. Sean's Rastafarian and believes in a way that Haile Selassie was Christ, that there's almost three versions of it. It's interesting because Haile Selassie ended slavery in Ethiopia August 27th, 1942. I'm born August 27th, 1974, and he was murdered August 27th, 1975. He was an emperor for 44 years and was taken down like 2 weeks after I was born. I could fit him into my story as one of the three kings, and I have certain, like the synchronicity, the numerology. There's all different dates and times. The beginning of the third day, Tony. You guys do Friday, Saturday, Sunday for Easter. One day for God is like 1,000 years. It's a quote in Peter. So imagine Jesus is crucified as the Son of God. One day for God is like 1,000 years. The first day would be 1,000 years. The second day would be 2,000 years. The beginning of the third day was January 1st of 2000. We worked together back in 2000. I don't know if you remember. I was off work for a couple months. I had a psychosis. It was a drug-induced psychosis. But in January of 2000, imagine when everyone thought the computers were going to crash Y2K. Imagine my mind crashed. But imagine that was the alignment of the third day. So imagine you or Sean trying to become enlightened. So say, imagine you study with Yoda. Imagine Sean studies with, like whatever, Buddha or Krishna or Christ and does like his meditation. Whoever you guys study with, imagine you guys become enlightened and you tap in. But basically, Buddha goes so deep that he surrenders his mind, but a crazy person loses their mind. They're both out of their mind. Now, Buddha would be able to understand and connect a little bit deeper, the Jedi, whoever you want to imagine, Christ, so on. The crazy person is out of their mind, so they wouldn't interpret it as well. But imagine that's the point, is one would surrender their mind, one would let go of their mind or lose their mind. They're both out of their mind. So they're not quantifying, or they're not quantifying properly, and that's the singularity. So while, like I said, Buddha, Krishna, Jedi, they would have a greater connection, the crazy person doesn't. But imagine, because they're out of their mind, imagine heaven or the multiverse could see them or can see through them. So imagine they kind of can work the person on the corner, kind of crazy, but imagine they're still catching glimpses. And that's part of the gist of it. So in the year 2000, Imagine I lose my mind, but that's the beginning of the third day. And instead of it being Y2K, the computers crash. Imagine my mind. Imagine Virgo and the Virgin, the Y2K symbols, the dates align. Jesus, he was crucified, rose from the dead. It's a joke. Well, my mom's name is Rose. There's a secret society, Rosicrucians, the ancient mystical order Rosicrucians. You move the A over in binary 0, 1, the A equals 1. Move the A over, it spells Mark. And the A is the anarchy symbol. Their symbol's the Rose Cross. My mom's name is Rose. But my dad on my father's side, my grandmother, her name is also Rose. You bring those two together, you have the Rose Cross. The secret society, the Freemasons, there's a lot of mystical connections I could speak about, but their biggest symbol is the Maltese cross, the Order of Malta. It's the only country that they center on. I'm Maltese. So the Maltese cross is a prime number cross. I can go into a lot of numerology, symbology. There's a lot of stuff there, but it's a whole entangled story. And I can basically go through this one entangled story when it comes to Revelations. Tony, this is crazy. There's all the dragons. So there's dragon, a red dragon, seven-headed dragon or beast. There's this pregnant woman from 3.5 years before who also goes off to have her kid. There's the mark of the beast, 666. And again, it's the mark of the beast. It's not the Tony or the Sean of the beast. Sin, the definition of sin is missing the mark. So imagine it's all clues and symbols, and it's all, if it was you, it would be your story, right? So all this stuff from Revelations, in 2014, Tony, I had one paranormal experience my whole life. I've had a lot of synchronicities and coincidences, but only one thing, and I've gone crazy a few times, but still, this one time is I met Archangel Michael, and I can go into the detail another time. But the whole point is it happened where I was managing a yoga, fitness, and martial arts studio. And it was a buddy of mine from elementary school who opened it. In grade 2 or 3, we played the Last Supper. I was Jesus, he was Peter. He opened the studio. His sister had a bit of a breakdown. He had to adopt his nephew. He called me crying. We had lost touch for years, but we reconnected recently because he had to adopt his nephew almost, and he had nobody to take over this business. He just quit his job and everything. I had a health club background, customer service, economics, financial, so I took it over and I helped them. So anyway, it was called Dragon Fitness. Our dragon, which was pink fuchsia, someone painted it. We paid $400. They painted it red. So I lived in the studio for 1.5 years, and I saw this red dragon every morning. The martial artist we hired was from UFC 3 down in the States, Seven Dragons Martial Arts. Our yoga teacher was a girl that I met 3.5 years before when she was pregnant, and she went off to have her kid. And at the time, I had gone bankrupt, and the last 3 digits of my credit card were 666, mark of the beast. So imagine the mark of the beast is debt. And to charge interest, Tony, in the Bible, the Torah, and the Quran, it's a sin. To make money on money, money is just to be exchanging products. It shouldn't be to make interest and to profit. That's a sin. So imagine to forgive all sins is to wipe out all debt, to reset the world. I would get killed if people heard what I'm saying. But so there's a lot to the story, and there's a lot of entanglement. There's a lot of in-depth, and there's a lot for me to explain. I can go on for 2 weeks straight, but I wanted to kind of give you the gist of what it is. So, Tony, my claim is Christ. And that's just the beginning. Because imagine that's just the key to open a door. Imagine your mind essentially was the mind of God. But you had to be aligned with it, and you had to connect with it. It's not like you get to do whatever you want. There is an entanglement. It's almost like a DNA strand. If you're not entangled, imagine Thor. And these are the points that Sean hates. But imagine Thor. For him to pick up the hammer, he has to be worthy. That's what Christ basically means. I'm going to grab this phone really quick. Hello? Hi, they said 12 o'clock. I'll be out soon, okay? Thank you. All right. I have permission till 12, and they're calling a little bit early, so I just want to clear that up. So, yes, so basically with Thor, to pick up the hammer, he has to be worthy. Buddha means awakened one. Christ means anointed one. It's a title. It's not like Jesus Christ is his first and last name. Jesus, I don't even think that J existed 2,000 years ago, so his name isn't even Jesus, Tony. It's Isha, Eshu, whatever it's pronounced. But Christ is a title. It means anointed one. It means he's worthy. So the person wouldn't be able to speak unless he was speaking the truth, which is the alignment. So he would have to be entangled with the story and the prophecy. Otherwise, it's like your superpower wouldn't exist. But here's the thing, Tony, it's crazy is imagine you have the most powerful, like if you were an Avenger, you'd be the most powerful one in the entire universe. your power is words. It's the word of God. So if nobody's listening, then imagine your power would essentially be completely neutralized. Okay, so this is where the saying, where two or more gathered in my name, there I am. If there's only one person, if no one's listening, it's neutralized. So it's almost someone hearing and listening. As simple as it is, they would have to awaken to this one point. And it's that everything's collapsing down to this one single point, and it's all connected. It has to come through somebody. There has to be a vessel. This is all, like I said before, God's energy. It's all the will of God. The only thing that's separate is your free will. Now, quantum physics, Tony, is saying every atom, it's go down to the particle, it's aware if it's being observed. It's conscious. If it's being observed, it's a density. If not, it's a wave. No one's looking. It's almost like if no one's there to see the forest, or you can't see what's behind you. You turn around or this way and it disappears. I'm not trying to be weird, but this is what the quantum physics is saying. It's aligning religion and science. So basically, what quantum physicists are saying now is what mystics, like people 2, 3, 4, 5,000 years ago in a cave sitting on a mountain looking up at the stars, it's what they figured out about the universe then. So it's all in the mystics, the Sufism, Kabbalism, Jewish mysticism, Islamic mysticism, the mystery of the universe. This is like your Harry Potter stuff. This is Doctor Strange, master of the mystical arts. This is literally what it is. So you solve the mystery of the universe, but imagine one person has to solve it. And then imagine it's an hourglass. They have like a black hole and a white hole. And imagine in the middle, it's like an hourglass, the singularity. And when you create that singularity, you can literally, and that's that prophecy, the first shall be last, the last shall be first. If I did it or somebody did it right now, you think of Elon Musk, Bezos, you take from those guys and it would be like war. You take from the richest, right? That's why Christ shows and explains who he is. He's the pyramid. He's the all-seeing eye. He sees past the filter of time to explain this universal, divine, infinite prophetic story, resets the whole world. So imagine I or this person alone would be the 1%, and they could take that pyramid and put it to the bottom and lift the whole world up. The first shall be last, the last shall be first, and you basically reset the world. And then we start over the kingdom. And the prophecy is 1,000 years of peace. But remember, one day for God is like 1,000 years. So imagine, and this is all done, Tony, it's just so much detail. But imagine I've created a perfect day. One perfect day for all of humanity, without telling anyone what to think, what to do, what to believe, without using any power, any force, any control, any authority. I didn't come here to take power. I came here to take responsibility, but for everything. I didn't come here to rule. I came here to serve. But imagine once I tell the world who I am, claim what's mine, I'm basically president of the planet, king of heaven and earth. You take all Muslims, all Christians, that's already 4 billion people. You throw in all Hindus, and I have that whole Eastern mystical story. Tony, that's where I studied. I have all the Western entanglement, but it's all, you don't even know these things. It's Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, the Bhakti Sutras. It's guys like Jiddu Krishnamurti, Ramana Maharshi, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, Sri Sri Ravi Shankar. Again, it's just all these Eastern mystics. I've read the Bhagavad Gita, which is their holy book, the Srimad Bhagavatam. I've studied all of this. So it's the alignment of all these things coming together. And imagine it just connected. And when I went crazy, imagine I was seen. In 2014, I had this psychosis. I met Archangel Michael, and it was all around the dragons. Revelations as Archangel Michael comes to battle the dragon. There's all these symbolic stuff. Imagine the apocalypse was basically just the story within my head. And the revelation is just me solving the mystery and being able to tell it. So imagine the apocalypse has already taken place. Imagine I'm the Prince of Peace because I figured out world peace within my head. I figured out what oneness is. It just has to collapse to a single point. In theory, I can make it you. I can make it anyone. Male, female, white, black, Muslim, Christian, Hindu, Sufi, Shiite, Protestant, Catholic. It doesn't matter who. But once I explain the whole story and all the theory, it all entangles with me. And if my mind is the one that connected, there's a guy named Joseph Campbell. He's a mystic historian. He's passed away now. Philosopher. And he wrote a book called Hero with a Thousand Faces. When they did Star Wars, so when George Lucas did Star Wars, Tony, and was studying like the Jedi and the Force, and it's all Eastern philosophy, mysticism, it's all this stuff, right? He talked to Joseph Campbell. And The book A Hero with a Thousand Faces, what he says is we're all heroes. So we're all going through our hero journey because we're all magical. We're all divine. We're all of God's essence, of all creation. I'm not being arrogant saying, oh, we're all God, like step on everyone and whatever. It comes with a great responsibility, but we're of that essence, okay? And if you awaken that essence, then you are, but of course it has to be with permission. It has to be worthy. It has to be anointed. In the math part of it, you're solving this equation, and this equation can't be solved. It's the impossible number. But to be able to become father and son, alpha, omega, beginning and end, it's almost like a joker in a deck, where if you can see the dark and the light, with permission, you can entangle yourself in the entire. So most people become enlightened by reaching the light. But imagine doing it by going into the darkness. The darkness isn't murder or killing or that. It's the unknown. But to go in and you're searching with your mind, with your ego, which is false. It's the illusion. It's conditioned. I could be Muslim. I could be Christian. I could be from Texas. I can be born any year, any time, any place, raised all different ways, go home with different families. I could be a completely different person. So you're looking for the truth, the infinite, the eternal, the timeless, who can't even be quantified with something that's false, with something that's the product of time. So you're looking for the infinite, but you're finite. You're looking for the eternal, but you're temporal. You're looking for the timeless, but you're of time. Okay, so you're searching for the truth with the false. It's the hardest thing to do. It's why prophets usually go crazy, like shepherds out in the desert or whatever they're doing, whereas Eastern Wonder gurus, you're studying, meditating, so they're trying to ground you, so that when you experience this and you splice time, you don't go, like batshit crazy, basically. It's to keep, but it still happens. And on ashrams and spiritual Eastern retreat sites, they almost revere the crazy person because they're almost closer. The picture in the bottom corner there, you can't really see it too well, but imagine there's the line between heaven and earth, or the multiverse in our universe. It's time and the timeless. So here's the line. The big circle is the whole world, but it's all normal people. They have their mind, their ego, they quantify, so it's their ego, their self, it's mind. But then you have enlightened, and it's the smallest circle. Enlightened is no mind, because you go so deep that you surrender your ego, you surrender your mind, become egoless, selfless. It's no mind. But from mind to no mind, it's opposite. It's not different. It's complete opposite. It's like looking in the mirror. It's the reflection. So there's mind, there's no mind, but then there's crazy people. And I don't mean to be rude, but I've gone there. But psychosis, crazy, out of your mind. So you have mind, no mind, and out of your mind. And like I said, the one person surrenders their mind, the other person loses their mind. I might have done that backwards. The enlightened person surrenders their mind, the crazy person loses their mind. They're both out of their mind. And they're flirting with the dimension of time and that which is quantifiable and non-quantifiable. That's why they catch glimpses, and they can be seen, and the enlightened person can, whether share revelations, prophecy, share the Bible, the Quran, there's different things. Anyway, so that's kind of going pretty deep into it. So what has to happen is one person creates a singularity. They're the vessel, because God doesn't exist within this dimension of time, even though he's created this whole dimension of time, even though he's given life. There's 8 billion people. Imagine there's a million in your dream. Imagine there's 8 billion and all the billions that have lived and that have existed through all this dimension. There could be other universes. I don't know. There could be infinite universes, but this might be the only one. When we sleep, we have one dream at a time. Maybe he poured everything, however you want to describe it. I'll choose the masculine because I would prefer the father-son, because, it's a war. That's what Israel means, to wrestle with God, to wrestle with his ideas, to battle with what is truth. One of the most important things, Tony, to realize, my anger, some of the things I've done and the way I've looked at it. In the beginning, it wasn't just all God. They say it was all knowing. Tony, this is just simple logic, and there's an explanation for it, and it's the whole mysticism and what I'm talking about. But in basic logic, if you tell me in the beginning, all God, only God, nothing else but God, and all-knowing, an all-knowing God, Tony, that creates murderers, rapists, pedophiles, the devil, and Satan. If he's all-knowing, he did that knowingly. If this entity created the devil, Satan, murderers, rapists, and pedophiles, that would make him the most evil entity in the universe by far. Like, the Satan and the devil would pale in comparison to the all-knowing entity that created it. So it's impossible. But it's basically the foundation of my case, Tony, because like I talk about this, people think I'm crazy. I get either in jail or a mental institution. People think I'm nuts, but they'll go to church and they believe it. So it's ridiculous. It has to be one of us. Whether it's me or not, I am pushing forward the case. Tony, I know it is me. I have it inside out. I can explain it 100 different ways. This is trying to be my best way. I can explain it from any angle, starting at any position and connect it to one, and it's very simple. That's why it's called the surrender equation now. Surrender has to do with it's all about surrender. The equation part, Tony, is I can explain it in theory for anyone. Sean had trouble with this. He basically looked at me. He wasn't being dismissive, but he's like, my truth isn't your truth. He's like, your truth is your truth. My truth is my. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I said, but if Christ, the one you believe in, is here in front of you, it's Christ. So his truth is your truth. He's like, yeah, of course. I said, if Haile Selassie is in front of you, his truth is your truth. It's Haile Selassie you believe. Yeah, for sure. I said, what if I happen to be hypothetically Christ? No, 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 your truth isn't my truth. But that's a denial. That doesn't make sense. So it's like if 1 + 1 is 2 for this person, that's your truth. If 1 + 1 is 2 for that person, that's your truth, or 2 + 2 is 4. But then if 1 + 1 or 2 + 2, 1 + 1 is 2 or 2 + 2 is 4 for me, but no, 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 your truth isn't my truth anymore. He missed it because if this is the truth, it is the truth, period. That's it. If it's not, it's not. But if it is, it is. If it is, the story I start telling is the truth. And you know the prophecy. It starts with me being king of heaven and earth. It means me owning every church on the planet. I don't claim the head of the Muslim church, but they believe in the coming of Christ more of as a prophet, but it's still recognized. I'd own every church on the planet. I would own the Vatican. I have all the story, Tony, to explain all the secret societies, the mystical. It's basically the Western world, and the external would be the church and the religious part. The internal would be the mystical and the entanglement part and all the secret societies, what people consider darkness, the unknown. There's a great song by Johnny Cash, look it up, God's Gonna Cut You Down or whatever. What was done in the darkness, it's man against his fellow man. But what was done in the darkness will be brought to the light. It's just the explanation of how this whole mystical would happen. The yin and the yang is light and dark, white and black, but it's one symbol. And the entanglement of two proton or two particles, I think one of the angles, it looks like the yin yang symbol. And that's basically it. They're still one, but it's bringing those two together to form. And that energy needs a vessel to be able to share that word. And it'd be as simple as telling the story. So that's where it's at. So Tony, it's the more it becomes clear, the more of a threat. So I need to get it out almost in one shot for everyone to kind of see it. But that's basically it. It's the singularity. And whether it's me or someone else or you or whatever, it's that one moment where everything collapses down and every answer would already be present. And I think I have it. What I need to do with the world, where my case comes in, is Canada's written the supremacy of God in the Charter of Rights and Freedom. I'm circumcised. I can say child mutilation, fraud if they don't recognize it. But I don't want to go into all that garbage right now. Like it's deep and it's a pretty powerful story. But that's it, man. I guess I'll leave it at that. I hope I explained it good enough, and we'll go into it a bit more another time.